Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Shurtleff, Associate State Director, Advocacy and Outreach with AARP Connecticut. So, welcome to another episode of Coffee and Tea with the AARP, where we talk about the issues important to the 50 plus and their families. So, today I'm joined by volunteer Marilyn Diaz and State Representative Jane Garibay, who serves as the chair of the Aging Committee in the General Assembly. So before we get into our questions with Representative Garibay, I'm going to ask Marilyn to introduce herself and share a little bit about what she does with AARP.
Thank you, Natalie, and such an honor to be here with my state rep, Jane Garibay. So I've been a volunteer for ARP for about 11 years, and some of the things that I have the pleasure of doing are presentations on things like electric choices, making those decisions about electricity and utilities, fraud watch, very important topic now, disrupt aging, both in the community and within the college universities. Of course, advocacy, which is what brings us here today because of our joint partnerships. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the fact that I am also a volunteer at the national level with a group that's called the Volunteer Facilitation Training Team. And that includes volunteer recruitment, inviting volunteers into leadership, and very soon doing the voter engagement where we're focusing on Social Security and caregiving. And it is my pleasure and honor to be a volunteer.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. I know you just rattled through all of that, but really you do so much with the organization, and we are so grateful for your work. So, Representative Garibay, welcome back to the show. I know you've joined us a couple times before, but for some of our viewers that may not remember, do you want to remind them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Natalie. It's an honor to be here with both you and Marilyn, of course. I represent the 60th District, which is Windsor and Windsor Locks. I am passionate about aging. If you had asked me 8 years ago when I first got elected, I wanted to serve the public, but I never imagined, to be where I am today. And I get to work with people like you, AARP, the Alzheimer's Associations, and all these people who do so much for our elderly. So just with that, it's a pleasure to be here. Um, and I love doing what I do.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question.
Sure.
And it is, we just recently in Connecticut wrapped up our 2026 legislative session, and we at ARP were so excited to see that, a lot of important pieces of legislation made it across the finish line. Some at the very tail of midnight, but it
Yeah.
happened. And so one thing that stands out is the caregiver tax credit that was introduced by the Aging Committee. Can you tell us a little bit about how that tax credit will support family caregivers?
Yes. First, let me say thank you to AARP because I know this was a priority that as an organization and being out and, with our residents, you saw it as something as very, very important, which it is. What we try to do in the aging committee is to make sure that our elderly are number one respected and that they have choices on how they want to age. And aging in place is very important. And there's many family members that are giving care to the elderly and good care. They get to stay home with people that care about them and take care of them, but it can be a financial drain upon them. With the family caregiver, I wish it were more. We wish we could have done more, but it's a step. It was a huge step so that they can have a tax credit for those that are taking care of their elderly people.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is such a huge step forward to provide just some modest financial relief to those that are caring for their loved ones. We know that it will really make a big difference for those individuals.
It
Uh,
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, aging in place, being able to stay in your own home as you age is so important to so many people. We know that there was another budget win that included a grant program that will address that. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Aging in Place grant program?
I can. So it was piloted some years back with a modest amount, and it was only relative to like 3 towns, like a trial. And we've been hearing so much about the needs that we thought we have to do more to allow people. In the end, it saves us all money. That's, if you want to talk about the ones that are doing the finances, this saves us money because it's not the cost of a nursing home or residential care or some of these other facilities. People will be able to put in like a special, and I believe it works with handicap too. You can put in ramps, you can put in a walk-in shower. As we age, it's harder to get into those tubs, right? Walk-in shower, a chair up the stairs. Maybe you need bars, maybe you need some smart things that are reminders to people when they're living alone, or doing, and of course the ramps out of the house that can be, out of someone's range. So we're really, really excited about that. And we're hoping that the legislature or the state continues to put money into that account so that it's an ongoing as we're aging and the need becomes more. But it was exciting.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
exciting. And beyond the state budget, I know that what I like to call the small but mighty aging committee also passed several other important pieces of legislation. Do you mind sharing some of those highlights? And I can't thank you enough for all your work on that because my mother and I, my family we're also all impacted by that. So just tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so we were really excited. We have a great team, and that includes AARP, right? We have a great team of legislators. We work bipartisan, and our only thought is what helps our elderly population? What helps mom and dad? What's going to help us when we reach that things? So together we were able to do somewhere as simple as teaching residents on their fear of retaliation, like they're afraid to report when they're being mistreated in a nursing home or in home care or in whatever situation they're in, because, they become very vulnerable and they're afraid they're not going to get any care, right? So we put that and to have staff with training. Residential homes can set up cameras in their room now. We could in nursing homes. And it's a deterrent. So many caregivers, so many nurses, et cetera, are wonderful. This is for those few bad actors. You see a camera, you're going to think twice about, doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So that one was small, but a mighty bill that has a lot of impact. Um, Also in assisted livings, they have to give a 60-day notice. We've heard so much about all of a sudden your insurance goes up. I know one woman, she's gone from paying $80 a month when she first took out her insurance plan many years ago. It's up over $800 a month now. $800 a month. And this is happening. So we're trying to do, and they have to hold an informational hearing to let people know. It can't just show up in your bill or to your loved one's bill. So that was home. I think one of our big one was we got a grasp on homemaker companion agencies. There were 200 before COVID. There's up over 1,000. Some reports say 1,200 home care agencies. And it benefited both the agencies and the consumer because now you'll be able to find them, and they get training, 8 hours of training where before there was no required. And so we all know that if you're taking care of someone with Alzheimer's, there's different personality traits or character traits that come out and different behaviors so that you understand them. You can't just say, okay, sit down, get over it, you know? So that training was so, so important. And our homemaker companion agencies will now be able to say that they are state certified trainers because many people open and, so it just does, and it shows that they have Alzheimer's training too, that you would be able to do that. We also had a bill that's going to help us understand these private equity firms more, because let's face it, they're here to stay. That's what I'm told. They're here to stay. They're across the country, across the world, and they're not always necessarily bad. But we've seen a trend, especially in nursing homes, of some bad actors, right? And so they buy them up, they, they squeeze them, and then they resell them, 5, 7, 8 years out. So we got to understand what they're doing, all the subsidiary companies that they own that benefit from this nursing home. There's just a lot of information, and this will finally give us that information so we know what to do. We also passed one that in one of the bills was municipal agents. That's like in your town hall, the one that would talk to you about interest of insurance and healthcare, et cetera, cannot be an agent themselves. They can't have that connection. And it also allows the town to have two agents, to share an agent because they are mandatory and small towns may not need a full one. We now have to provide, which seems common sense, and you would have thought it was already happening, health aid agencies to provide gloves, masks, gowns, sanitizer, and other personal. They would have to buy them themselves on their minimum wage salaries. So that was huge. And we're trying to go towards smaller type facilities that promote personal centered care. And so we've been doing a lot of work on that. We did get a big grant to do a program called PACE. This was last year, but it's all continuing. The work doesn't stop in 1 year necessarily. We continue. But anything to keep our seniors healthy, safety, et cetera. And it depends on, well, we'll probably go into your part in all of this, Marilyn. But that's basically some of the big things we got through this year, plus other funding like for South Park in homeless shelter for their aging population. We got ombudsman, we got navigators at the area agencies on aging. So it was a good start.
Yeah, this
You
was
know,
a
and
short session this year, but it
yeah,
seems like we really accomplished a lot. I think we could just keep going on and on about, oh yeah, we did this and we did this. So
Yeah.
thank
So
you.
as an aging committee, we listen, like when you meet with me, Natalie, or I'm having coffee with Marilyn, and all our members do. And so we'll all bring things to the table. So it's from what we hear out in our communities, from our partners, et cetera. We don't pay attention. It's a short session, da, da, da. And we did get everything through that I think basically we chose as priorities, except for the dental hygienist bill. But we'll be back next year to work on that.
so in this short time together that we've had, we see how so many things are happening. And it is intricate. It could be basic. It could be long term. It could be short term. So I want to say thank you so very much for listening and hearing us. So my last question to you is that, during this session, you saw a lot of us AARP volunteers, me too, in our little red shirts to advocate for a lot of these important issues. So what I really want you to tell us, please, is how can you tell our listeners about how they can make their voices heard? And, from there, the voices turn into action. So how can they make their voices be heard?
Right. It is so important. I love seeing those red shirts, especially when you're in the LOB downstairs on the first floor and I look down and I see you all there, right? It makes a difference. And for each individual, I would strongly suggest you not send out these emails to legislators that are all the same, because I'll get 100 on one topic. And I have to tell you, I don't think that most of my colleagues really, you don't connect with each one, right? But if you send me 3 sentences, I'm for the caregiver tax credit because I think it's important because of this. I will respond, and we see those. And that goes from every legislator. And the more that they receive like that, seeing you at the Capitol, look what we did with, they were starting to balk on the going down from 4 beds to 2 beds in nursing homes, even though it's passed and it's like now. Um, and it was through AARP and other organizations with the ombudsman's office. They set up in the lobby of the Capitol what it would look like to be in a 4-bed bedroom, and to give people an idea. What the people say is important. It really is important. No bill, rarely does a bill get passed that does not have support. And as you know, we've passed some of our most difficult, like the biomarker, like the RX bill through human services, that it took a lot of us working together to lower rates. And that's why a lot of the rates are lower, especially on generic drugs. but it's from listening to people. It gives us force together. And you are listened to. I know sometimes we don't feel our government listens to us, but I promise you, most of us do listen.
Yeah,
So
I think we can, at the state level, our state representatives, so
mhm,
many of you truly care.
we
And
do.
it's evident. And I think that, especially the aging committee in particular, like if you watch an aging committee meeting, you can see how much you all care about these things and how much you respect each other and have, honest, open debate and truly value the input from just people in your communities, your
Right.
constituents.
And being honest, and we do have that. Like there is no one on that we would not on our committee like be devious or try to. We're open. We may not, like you said, always agree fully. We get there. We do try to get everybody on board, and many of these bills pass unanimous, or pretty close to it. Um, because who can fight against helping the people that have given us life, right? That have, worked so hard for us all these years. And it's just hard. And we still need to do a lot more. So this is just the beginning. So I'll look forward to seeing you guys all at the Capitol. Because it takes the team. And I consider, you guys as part of our team, right? That we are a team together, right?
Definitely. Thank
Um,
you.
and I just went to your conference on mistreatment of elderly and abuse, et cetera, and it was fabulous. I learned so much, and I saw all the people that were there. So your outreach of what you do is just so, so important. And I watch people in the questions. So it was a really good forum. So I commend you on that and bringing the awareness and everything you do.
Yeah, it was, really important to mark World Elder Abuse Day and, talk about the important issue and, do what we can to protect our older residents and, make sure that people aren't abused.
Right. And we come from I'll put myself up in that generation. We come from a different generation without all the social media, et cetera. And so this generation tends to be very trusting. And so we're on social media, different things. And when someone says, this is the way it is, we tend to fall into it and believe it. And that's why people, when they get a call from their granddaughter or whatever that they haven't seen in a while and they've been kidnapped or all these different scams that are out there. And so that's where I encourage children and relatives. People ask me all the time, what can I do? Visit a shut-in, visit your neighbor, help out, give that communication because it is a different world. Even for those that aren't elderly can get scammed. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean
right?
the fraudsters are good. They do, terrible things, but they're very good at it, and they can trick any of us. And I think
Right.
all of us are capable of falling, for whatever tricks they're
Right.
doing.
Yeah, it's
But
not your fault. It's not. I ask my kids a lot. I'll send something to my kids and I'll say, "Is this real?" No, mom. Because they have better skills on going in and investigating. Both two of mine work in like computer type situations, technology. So don't be afraid to reach out to someone to ask, and do not feel guilty because that's what happened. The elderly especially get scammed and they're afraid to admit it, but sometimes you can retrieve money back. There are solutions, and do not feel guilty, do not feel ignorant. um that's not It's
yeah,
that type of society, and even younger people get scammed all the time. So
yeah, younger people are victims of scam as well. I think, a
mhm.
lot of times there's this misconception that it's only older people, but younger people can fall victim too. But fraudsters are smart in what they do, and so they intentionally target older people often because they know that a lot of times older people have been able to accumulate assets over a lifetime of hard work. And so they may have a, large retirement account or other assets that the fraudsters can try to, you know, gain access to through their scams. Whereas, someone like me who's, a little bit younger in life and trying to pay for daycare and sports
Yeah.
and all of the, kids things, I don't have as many
Right.
assets. And so I'm not as a, you know, prime target as an older person would be.
They're also, I think, we came from a world that was a little bit more trusting because we didn't have all this technology or all this thing. The one that kills me is the cute guy that comes up on Facebook. And if you look down, he's with his dog, his grandchildren, he's handsome as whatever. Don't fall for it. If it's too good to be true,
It is.
right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, just be leery. And it's hard to live in a distrusting world, but we have to also protect ourselves, right?
If I may, an unsolicited comment here, and that is, um, yeah, fraud is a major thing, and it's one of the things that a little plug. We do have presentations on fraud,
Yes, you do.
specifically targeted to our community at large. And part of it is the fact that, yeah, these fraudsters are constantly, especially with new technology, advancements in technology, are constantly trying to take 10 steps ahead of us. Um, but also, the fact is that we are trying to change the way we talk about it. So just as you were saying, victims and their violent crimes, and you should not make anybody feel ashamed of it, because it's not something to be ashamed of. And it also highlights when you refer to the Elder Awareness Abuse Conference that we just had,
Yes.
it also refers to the fact that we need to work on this together. And so we need to increase awareness, not only with prosecutors, social workers, the police department, and that was very evident in that conference. So we're here to work with legislation and all of our partners in the community.
Yeah, well, as we know, AARP, Connecticut and across the nation, et cetera, is a leader in the information. Tell people, sign up for the newsletter. There's different things that you can do. But I just don't want anyone, because I hear it a lot. Well, I was stupid, or this happened, or that happened, or sometimes, abuse with a family caregiver. It's rarer, but it can happen. Do not be, there is help there. There are people that care. And you have to speak up and, you know, and as far as money goes, like I know for any large amounts, my husband and I would both have to sign because you never know when that's gonna, you always say, well, it won't happen to me. I won't know. But you can put some controls on your accounts where you can't send off, $80,000 or, we've known of people over $1 million being taken. So safeguard yourself. I know right now we're happy, we're healthy, we're doing well, but the day may come. So if you put those guardrails in place on your personal finances, it can help. So I can't wait to see the red.
I'm always
Thank
here.
you. We've had such a great conversation here. So I hate to wrap us up, but we've come to our time. So before we do wrap up, is there anything else that you want to share, Representative?
No, just so that our elderly population, our seniors know that they're not alone, that there are resources. There are people like you and Marilyn and myself and my ranking member, Mitch Belinsky, and whatever, that are here to help. Reach out to your legislator. Just make it personal and follow up with it because things can get lost. But if you need help, reach out to any of us, to our area agencies on aging, to the ombudsman's office. There's a lot of help out there. Sometimes you just have to dig, and that they're appreciated. AARP is very much appreciated for all you do because it takes all of us together.
you. What a great way to end. So thank you again for joining us today. And thank you, Marilyn, as well. And thank you to you, our viewers, for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP. So you can join us by becoming an e-advocate by scanning this QR code here on your screen. So you can join us and be part of the group of volunteers that are reaching out to our legislators and helping to support important policies like this. So join us again in 2 weeks for another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP, and view all of our back episodes on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you again for joining us.